Okay, good to see everybody. Appreciate you guys being here. Coming off a very hard-fought, physical victory last night down in New Orleans. Very proud of our players, coaches. To come out with that win was a challenge, and the Saints were playing obviously very hard and physical right down to the end of the game, and we responded well, handled the environment, handled the opponent. Handled our own issues a lot of ways too. So proud of those guys for that. What questions do you have?
John, we saw Jason Pierre-Paul, I think, only played 7 snaps last night. Did he get hurt in the course of the game, and how's he doing?
Yeah, he kind of tweaked his ankle a little bit. Nothing too serious. It just wasn't something that I think we felt like we wanted to challenge too much. The way the game was going right there. So he should be fine coming back from the bye. Same thing with Deshaun. He should be fine coming back from the bye.
John, you talked about Justin Houston from last night. The numbers speak for themselves, but it was interesting early in the season, he and Adafe had to play so many snaps. The numbers were just so much lighter, but it's had 6.5 snaps and 6.5 sacks and I think 73 snaps in 3 games since he's come back. Does that just speak to the amount of depth, the rotation you're getting going at outside linebacker where you can really maximize his pass rushing prowess?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good problem to have in the sense that we're adding these guys. JPP came in. That was an addition for us. Adafe, of course, you saw he took all those snaps early, so did Justin. Tyus coming back. Job will maybe on the horizon at some point, but not maybe, he will be. It's a good thing, and I feel like Justin he's having a great year at this stage of his career, and to me it's a credit to him in so many ways, but it's a credit to him in the sense that he really worked hard. I mean, as you get older, one thing I learned watching the Ed Reeds, Ray Lewis's, Terrell Suggses, those guys, Halotys, when you get a little bit older, you got to work that much harder, just to stay the same, just to be able to play, to stay healthy, and to be able to perform. And he did that. He really put the work in. He's in just probably, he might tell you the best shape of his career. I don't know, but he's in great shape. And then the other thing is the team part of it. Guys are setting those things up. I mean, some of our games, our pick stunts, things like that, were executed at such a high level. Give the linebackers credit for that. The other, all the guys. Those are the things I think he would tell you that that's how that stuff happens.
Coach, Lamar Jackson hasn't put up gaudy numbers, but he's played effective quarterback. He's making third downs. He's not turning the ball over. Have you seen that maturation he has as a quarterback, being able to not manage the game, but sort of be a guy who can win games without putting on a cape, I guess?
However you want to describe it, but he's exactly right, Todd. I mean, that's the bottom line. Everybody's got their own style and their way of doing it, and the thing I like about Lamar is he's never satisfied. He wants to play a perfect game. And yet, third down, I mean, he kind of did put the cape on a number of times, and that's why we had the third down numbers that we did, really, was he made plays, both passing and scrambling and even run game stuff, and even reads that you guys don't see sometimes. So did a great job with that. I thought our offensive line fought really hard. They were covering us tight. That's a match zone team and a good man cover team, and there weren't a whole lot of places to throw the ball a lot of times. So I think Lamar made a lot of things happen that way. So, I think your point is really good, Todd.
Yesterday, Justin Houston talked about how he was considering retirement. Did you end up having any conversations with him over that offseason? Share any conversations on that?
No, I never heard anything about that. I didn't want to hear anything about that.
After you look back at the tape, just how did you feel like Tyus played in his first game back?
Right, Tyus, Ryan, exactly right. Tyus is such a versatile player. He had really good, he played the run well, first of all. You've got to earn the right to rush the passer. Then he rushed the passer. He didn't have the sacks like we're talking about, but he pressured Andy, made him move around, pushed the pocket a few times. And then also he does a great job in coverage too, so we drop him out a lot of times, which creates some of those pressure games. We're able to run and freeing up the backers and forcing the linemen to handle those picks. He's out there covering guys man-to-man. He's jumping crossing routes, coming across the field. Tyus is a very versatile player that way, and that's how he played.
Coach, you're missing your top 2 running backs. You still managed to run for 188 yards yesterday. Well, and Ken Drake obviously had a big game. What's been the key for that?
Well, just keep kind of pounding the rock. I think we have really good running backs. We've really developed because of what happened probably last year and into this year. Eric's done a great job of going out and getting guys. I mean, obviously Justice came back from the Achilles really well. We were able to acquire Kenyon Drake. We were able to sign Mike Davis. I mean, those are big for us. So those guys are all very high quality backs in the National Football League. And then, J.K. will be back in a few weeks, and then, Gus will be back next game. So that's the plan. But all that being said, it's really a group effort. I mean, everybody working on all aspects of the run game because it's, again, it's a group effort. You don't just hand the ball off and the back goes and makes a bunch of yards. It's got to all kind of work together, and that's what we're getting better at. And we still have to get a lot better because we're not where we want to be yet, but we are improving.
Along those lines with Drake, he gets signed late in the process and kind of takes a little while to get going. What is it that has allowed him recently to really just kind of take off?
Well, like I said, I think the blocking is improving. Obviously all the reads, all the things we do. We've had some good scheme stuff. So give everybody credit. It's a team effort. But also he is getting a feel, Garrett, for the way the schemes work. The footwork. We run a lot of different kind of midline footwork schemes that a lot of people don't use. So I think he's getting a feel for, where his feet are going to be, where his eyes are going to be, where the blocks are coming from, and the different fronts sometimes, where those guys are lined up and how those plays are going to be blocked. He's probably getting a better feel for all that.
We talked about Kyle Hamilton the past couple of weeks and how he's making progression. He saw a pretty big increase in percentage of snaps this game. What was it that you like about this matchup, and how do you feel like Kyle is progressing? Is he kind of showing you, hey, I'm worthy of a bigger defensive role?
Well, he has been. I mean, when you do, you get some responsibility and do well with it, then you earn more responsibility. That's just how it works, in life and in football. And he's done that. He's a rookie, and he came out there and he had a tough sledding the first couple games. But he didn't get down on himself. The guys didn't get down on him. They just kept pushing him, and he was open to it. He was willing to listen to wise counsel, and it's paid off for him, And we've got him in some good spots down in there, doing some things in nickel and the dime spots. And then you can use disguises and run him back out as a safety when they think he's maybe coming. Very versatile player down there. He's tackling so well, so playing hard. He's a good blitzer. I don't know that we knew that. When we drafted him, he's a really good blitzer. So, yeah, he keeps growing every week.
John, the plays late in the game where you had to take the timeout and then you took the delay of game. What wasn't working in that little stretch?
Yeah, it kind of just caught up with us, I think, a little bit in terms of all the environment, personnel. We were trying to get guys in and out and get guys tweaked up a little bit. Guys understanding sometimes where to line up, some of the motions and stuff like that, and communication, being on the same page. We just weren't clicking on all cylinders right there with where we were at as an offense in terms of operation, as well as we need to be. So when you shuffle a lot of guys in and out, sometimes I think we don't accept that. We're not saying that that's something that we expect, but we have to acknowledge that it can happen. And it kind of overwhelmed us on that one drive there.
I'm talking about Hamilton, but the defense as a whole had 3 safeties on the field for 75% of snaps. What do you like about that personnel package to have 3 of those safeties on the field?
Yeah, it's the players. I mean, those guys are just versatile players, and they're doing their roles well. Kyle allows us to do that because he can play a couple different spots down there. And then, obviously Chuck and Gino are playing at a high level. That probably, maybe that's your point. That's the biggest point. Both those guys are just playing super football. Then you got Marcus, of course, and Marlon are playing really good. And, we've moved Brandon in and out, and he does a good job, in the things he's doing. And Pepe pops in there every now and then and does a good job. So, we just try to keep it moving that way. It's the way it went this last game. They do run the ball pretty well. You had Alvin Kamara was a guy we needed to stop. I think we wanted to make sure we could tackle him down there with our underneath guys, so all that goes into it.
Coach, with the Saints touchdown with Marcus Peters thought he stepped out of bounds and Chuck Clark, was the fear getting the 15-yard penalty with those guys that was kind of gray area?
Yeah, I mean, for Marcus, he said it. I got to finish that. I thought he was out of bounds. I got to make sure he's out of bounds. And then Chuck, I know, and both Patrick thought he was out of bounds by the way the body language went, and they didn't want to get a 15-yard penalty for hitting a guy out of bounds because as soon as a guy steps in their way and you hit him, it's called. We've seen the tapes of that. I'm in this room right here showing the guys the tapes of that, and I think that was probably in their head a little bit. So very, very, very bad play for all of us. We hate that play. Everybody was ticked off about it in the locker room after the game. It's not something that, we want to see. But also, as we talked through it, I kind of began to understand why it happened.
John, considering how much we asked you about the left guard position over really the last couple of years, what does it say about the way Ben Powers has played that, almost like when they talk about good officiating, you don't notice him because he's just doing his job?
That's a great point, Luke. I mean, we have talked about that position so much, and here he is kind of nailed it down. He's become the established starter there, playing very solid football and physical, smart, knows what he's doing, rarely makes mistakes, just doing a great job for us.
John, with Roquan Smith, everybody can look at the stats and see the effect that he had on the game, but from a bigger level, just the intensity and the physicality he brought, did that bleed over into the other guys? Like, what did you see from the sideline?
I think good players and great players make everybody around them better. Would you agree with that? We've got a number of guys on our defense that do that, and you add another guy like that into the mix. I mean, he's a really good player. Everybody knows it. And what a great job he did to come in and learn the defense so quickly. I mean, he had no issues out there at all as far as knowing what to do. And then all of a sudden, he's flying around and he makes a couple plays, and other guys kind of feed off of that just a little bit, and your defense is that much better. And when you have one guy playing well, I think it has an exponential effect kind of to everybody else. So it kind of grows. I was looking forward to seeing how we looked out there with Roquan out there, and man, I'm pretty fired up the way it looked.
A lot's been made over how you guys have had a double-digit lead in every game so far. I'm curious, does the chance to play from ahead like you guys have had have an impact on maybe the effectiveness of the pass rush and opportunities like that?
Well, always, it always does, because teams are forced to pass when they're behind. So, we've really, we have a plan in terms of how we envision our defense. In terms of how we have to play in our conference and in our division, and that's been in place. The off season you build that. And you try to build your defense in that way, toward scheme and then personnel. And we didn't have all of our guys early, but we were still building into our vision in terms of scheme and what we wanted to play. And I'd like to think that that'll start coming into clear view in the next part of the season here in terms of how we want to play with the guys we have, with the guys coming back, and as we get better at what we do. So I think all those things play into it.
John, I think Charlie Kohler's practice window is up this week. Will he go on the roster? And just in general, how has he looked? And I know he missed so much time not getting to training camp.
Yeah, he's looked really good. He's a young player and missed all that time in training camp, so he's still developing. But man, he's out there, looks good. He's so talented. He's so big. He's got great hands. He wants to do well. He's very conscientious, and he had 3 good weeks of practice. So I anticipate him being brought up this week. Can't speak for Eric on that, but that's how we're talking right now. So now we got to find a way to do it, which is a challenge. But I expect Charlie to contribute this year.
You were talking about the way the safeties have played a couple questions ago. One guy we haven't asked about for a while is Marcus Williams. How's he doing, and are you starting to get any sense of a time frame when he might be looking at coming?
Yeah, we are. It's a great question, Childs. I mean, he's looking good. It's just one of those deals where it's a bone that has to heal. So it's pretty straightforward, as long as there's no setbacks, so to speak. There have been no setbacks so far, and I think it's sometime in December is when they expect him back, and we'll see. But so far, so good.
John, with the bye week, you typically think of like players recovering physical injuries and stuff, but what do you kind of hope for you and your coaching staff to get out of the bye week?
Yeah, we'll be working in here. Coaches just came in. We'll be working, grinding probably all hours of the night here, all through the bye week and through the weekend. So don't expect any time off, guys. No, we'll work hard, but we'll get away. And I joke with the players. It's like they want to get away from us. It's like, hey, fellas, we want to get away from you too. Believe me. We're excited about that. But and have the guys get back with their families certainly over the weekend. But we've got to do a lot of work the next few days. We've got a lot of self-scout work to do. We really need to evaluate where we're at, where we're going, and that thing I was talking about with the vision a little bit. We got to keep refining that for the second half of the season, and just based on what we know now, So we'll be doing that through the week, and then get away on the weekend, and we'll be back. The players are coming back Monday. We'll have a practice on Monday. And then they'll be off on Tuesday because that's their day off for the week, and then we'll be into the regular schedule for the Panthers game on Wednesday.
All right.
All right.
Thanks, Coach. Thanks, John.